today's video, we are going to be building a restaurant. I haven't built a restaurant before on my channel, and I can't even remember if I've ever built one before I had my channel. So today we are building in Forgotten Hallow, which is the world that comes with the Vampires game pack, and we are building on the Fledermaus Bend lot. I think that's how you say that, and it's a 30 by 30 lot. So at first I thought 30 by 30 is really tiny, but actually you can fit so much on a 30 by 30 lot, and I feel like maybe I made the restaurant a bit too big. But I really love how it turned out. For this restaurant, since we are building in Forgotten Hallow, which is like the vampires world, I did want to go with a darker Victorian Gothic aesthetic for not only the outside but also the inside of this restaurant. So we're gonna see that today, and I think it turned out really good, so I'm very excited to get to that part eventually. But for now, we're gonna be like in a trust the process phase with this outside, because for the outside I just wanted everything to be kind of symmetrical, so the same on one side as it is on the other side. And with that, you have to do a lot of adjusting and, you know, pulling and prodding at the building here and there so that you can kind of get it to be the same on both sides. I just like building that way. That's my preferred way. And then for this restaurant, like I said, I do feel like I made it a bit big for dine out's capabilities. Like it functions. I play tested the entire lot, and every time I went, I got my food. The only thing that I noticed was that it was kind of iffy whether other people got their food. I noticed that some were getting their food, like other patrons in the restaurant, but other times they wouldn't get their food. And also there's this weird bug with dine out when it comes to smaller tables and round tables, where someone will get their food or someone won't get their food, or you know, they will get their food but then they'll stand up to eat their food. I don't know how to address that issue. I did have it come up. I did leave though the circle tables in the build anyways, because my idea is that if you don't want to have this function as a restaurant, you can have this function as a nightclub. You can have it function as like a really cool, like a really nice bistro. You can have it function as a lounge, because those things all kind of work really nicely in the Sims 4. Like I didn't have any issues with ever running a bar or a bistro, which would be kind of like a bar. If you wanted to, you could make it a cafe instead. And I also have never had any issues with cafes. But like I said, there wasn't really an issue with the dine out. Like I did get the food. My Sims didn't really have to wait long. It's just like noticing that maybe other Sims were not receiving their food. The bar though was a hit in this restaurant. Like many Sims lined up to the bar. And there were some issues that I ran into with like the building of this thing, which I'll discuss when we get to those parts of this build, like what I ran into and how I corrected those issues like post filming and stuff. But yeah, I think maybe just the restaurant is a bit big, because I was kind of searching up while I was playtesting the lot, like how's the best way to run a restaurant in dine out, how to make it work the best and so on. I wish I had done that before I built the restaurant, but I was running into the issues while I was playtesting, and so I was kind of thinking about, okay, maybe I did make it a bit too big, because it's 2 floors, so sometimes one floor is busy and the other one is like completely dead in this lot. Now it may also be because I placed it in Forgotten Hallow, which is a smaller world. It doesn't have a lot of townies. So if, for example, I placed it in Willow Creek, maybe there would be more Sims in this lot. However, this would not really fit in Willow Creek. It's like literally not built for Willow Creek at all. I was going to place it in the Life and Death world first, Ravenhood, where my occult academy is, because if you look at the 2 buildings, they kind of look really similar. So there was this lot really close by, but the buildings that surrounds that lot wouldn't fit with this build either. Like it would stick out. The reason I could build the Ravenhood Occult Academy in that world is because it's so, like, that lot is so secluded, like far off in the distance compared to the other lots that are all around each other, and then they have all of these live edit buildings that do not really fit with this kind of design. So that's why I decided rather to just place it in Forgotten Hallow. There's nothing really happening in Forgotten Hallow anyways, so I thought that this would be a nice like attraction for Forgotten Hollow, or a reason to kind of come here. I do wish that the world populated, like auto-populated more vampires so that they would actually come here, but the Sims game does not like auto-populate vampires like that. From what I've seen, it's only like the usual the vampires that come with this world that you will see around in the world. I don't think I've ever seen, like for example, one of my Sims get turned into a vampire, or a townie that wasn't a vampire before become one later on. I've never seen that before. So I do wish that that was something that happened, but I don't really think so. So here you can kind of see that I'm doing the front part. Now I did, when I was doing this draft for this build, which if you are new here, usually I do a draft before I build like on camera so that I can know where I want everything basically. I usually do it to this point that you're seeing it now, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm comfortable with what I have now, I'm gonna start building on camera, and it just helps speed up the process a bit and make the video a little bit shorter. It speeds up my editing time as well, because I don't have to edit through so much when I just like, you know, kind of practice what I'm gonna do before I actually do it on camera. So in my draft I already came up with like what I wanted for this front part over here, because I knew that it was something that I was going to struggle with. It's always difficult to kind of come up with an idea for what you want to do for the front of a building when it's a commercial lot, as opposed to when it is a residential lot. So I knew that I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. So I kind of wanted a parking area in the front, and then I placed these planters. So you saw I drew a hole for, and then I placed those planters in there. That planter is from Foreign, from its live edit objects. And then I just placed in that festive hedge, which is a hedge that we got with I think it was an event that we did before Christmas last year. And so I placed that in there. And then you saw that I placed in those big red flowers. Those are from Romantic Garden stuff, but I ended up removing those later on. I just felt like it was too red. And the color scheme that I was going for inside of the restaurant was more of a maroon, like a deep red. So it's deep red and black, and then like greens and so on. So that was not the red that I wanted basically. So I removed that. And then there I was struggling on what to do. I wanted to put plants like in these small front sections that I had cut out here, right? So I wanted to box them out, but the problem is because they're on the boundary of the lot, you cannot use a fence to kind of box that entire section out. So I went through the live edit category and found this fence, and then I used that to kind of outline where I wanted to place the plant in. And I once again just placed that festive hedge with the lights in it in that plant. And then just a little bit about that fountain section. So obviously you saw I drew it around that platform that I added, and then on the platform I added these lights from Life and Death live edit objects. You can see that in the Life and Death world, it's around the Life and Death world, like scattered about. So I used those on those platforms, and then I just used that fountain ball, I think it's from Spa Day, in the fountain as well. And then one thing that I also ended up doing was just taking the planter boxes that you saw me do in the front and then copying and pasting it to the back so that I didn't have to redo it again. And then yeah, that was like all for this. Is like the front section now. This is what it's gonna look like. There are a few things that will change throughout. I was kind of on the fence about whether I wanted to use this awning from Cozy Bistro. So I was going to use the black one, and I think I actually ended up using the black one towards the end of the video. But when I went back in and I was playtesting the lot, I was like, I actually like that red color. It's still not the red. It's still not the red that I wanted, but it's close enough. And then, oh yes, I changed the sign that you currently see me placing down there. I'm going to change it to a different one, but then later on I'm going to change it to a different one again. because I liked that other sign more than the one that I currently have up there right now. And then I just placed these plants, or this like ivy that we got with Enchanted by Nature, on this glass wall sections that I made. And the reason why I made those glass wall sections is because I wanted to do something cool with lights on the inside, so that at night they would show up red, and they would kind of shine through the light, or shine through the glass, which is the glass that we also got from Enchanted by Nature. I like the pattern on it, so I use that one in the front. And then yeah, it looks really cool at night when the red shines through it. The red is not that strong though. I wish it was a bit stronger, but I did put in a lot of lights, and I got it as red as I think the game would allow me to get it. So yeah, now I'm currently redoing the roof here. I didn't like what I had previously. Something that I did struggle with here was the roofing, just because of if you look down on the sides right now, I have this glass roof on the top. Now, building with a glass roof can be very difficult, especially if you go on the inside and you look up. It will sometimes show the outlines of the other roofs that you place next to it. It can show the trim that you place on the roofing, like it can cut through the wall or through the roof. So just to make sure that it was clean on the inside, there were so many things that I had to do on the outside to kind of get it to look right. But then when I got it to look right on the outside, it wouldn't look right on the inside. So there was a lot of back and forth with this here. You can actually see it now, this side section. So now, as it is currently, it looks right on the inside. But what was bothering me on the outside is that I used 4 different roofing pieces around that glass section. And what that was doing was, it was creating like little grooves in between, or like little spaces in between the glass sections and then the 4 pieces that I used. I didn't like that. So I was kind of brainstorming while I was between like recording. I was brainstorming, what can I put there so that it looks more realistic, that it makes sense. So I just boxed it out with a hole fall, and that made it look so much better. So I left it that way. You can kind of see the hole fall there as I'm, like moving around and stuff. And yeah, I like that a lot better than what I had previously. And then afterwards, I just came in and I showed you there that I took away those cones in the front. And I really like the pattern that I made with the cones, because I used 2 different cones and then I used 2 different roofing patterns, and it made this really cool pattern. But I just like stuck out, and I think it's because I placed those circle roofs on a square room. And the reason why I did that is because you can't have a 1-tile circle room, which is so like, I want to be able to make like columns and like long like pillars and stuff in the game, but you can't do that because you can't have a 1-tile circle room. So I just removed it, and then I placed the gargoyles that we got from vampires on those sections. That worked out nicely. And then on the roof itself, like you saw that big part of the roof that I did there on top, I didn't know what I wanted to do there. I think it took me like 10 minutes to decide what exactly I wanted to put on top of the roof. So I just ended up putting down a chimney, but none of the chimneys in the game comes with a solid black color. So what I did was I just threw a hole fall around that chimney, and then made that solid black. And then I just did the same thing that you saw me do with a planter in the front. I did that on the roof as well. And then there was a few other ceiling decorations not ceiling decorations, roof decorations that I placed on the roof. And then you would have seen that I placed down also the dormers on the side of the roof as well. Those are those little windows that peek out, and that was the one from vampires. And now I'm currently decorating the like outside eating area. Sims really love to come on this outside eating area, or the outside section to eat. And one thing that I continued to do was to place 2 tables on top of one another. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me that that would not work. I know this because usually you'll see me draw basements under if I want to use 2 objects or 2 different objects, because I like the look of something, right? And I don't know why I kept on doing it, and it was just like not clicking to me that I can't do that. Like, I really liked the bottom part of that one table. Like, it looks like metal, like really ornate metal frame at the bottom of the table, but then it doesn't have a solid black top, and I wanted a solid black top. So I was trying to merge these two tables into one, not thinking about the fact that if Sims wanted to do anything with regards to those tables, they wouldn't be able to, because the other table would basically get in their way. So I had to remove the table with that beautiful metal base. I was so sad because I really liked it. I feel like those small details matter. And so, yeah, I reluctantly removed all of the ones with that like strong, beautiful metal base. Those are from Get Together, and then I used the other one, which is from Ravenhood, the solid black top, and not from Ravenhood, from Life and Death. But unfortunately, yeah, I couldn't keep it that way because otherwise the Sims wouldn't be able to order, or they wouldn't be able to get their food and stuff because the other table was in the way. So that was unfortunate, but it's okay. So now we are in the inside, and you would have seen that I started with the floor done already because the floor takes so long to lay out. What I just used was, when you build a room, right, you will get flooring in the room, like the raw flooring, like if you haven't put down flooring at all. So I just used that one. The white swatch is what you normally get when you just build a room, and then the black swatch is the black version of that paint, or that floor paint basically. So I just used that, and then I made one square black, one square white, one square black, one square white, and I had to do that for the entire restaurant. So it did take me a while to finish that up, but I think I love doing this checkered flooring with anything that is kind of gothic or dark Victorian. I think it fits perfectly with the aesthetic, so I did that everywhere, I think, except the kitchen. And then here you can kind of see I wanted these stairs to frame the entryway into the entire, like the full restaurant. This is just like where they sign in and stuff. And then this gargoyle that you see me place in the middle, love the gargoyle, but unfortunately it was just so like right there by the door. So I did end up removing that gargoyle and placing them on the sides where you saw I placed those arches, I think, that leads into the glass rooms that I placed on the outside, if that makes sense. And then, oh yes, here we ran into our first issue. So I thought that if I placed these shelves or the faux stone wall from Sleek Bathroom, it would not really interrupt a person having to speak to the house, or being able to speak to the house, a sim being able to speak to the house when they came into the restaurant. But unfortunately it did. So my first option was to do a basement under, and then raise up all of those, like the foul thingy that you get with Sleek Bathroom, raise it up from the basement so that it wasn't in the same space as the hosting station. But that didn't work actually at all. So what I did was I just removed the one of the four walls that's right in front of the hosting station, and then I lined the hosting station up with a four wall that's in the front of the counter. I hope that makes sense, but you'll see it in the screenshots at the end what I ended up doing, so that worked. So that was the one change that I made there in the front. And then I was still speaking about the staircases. I really wanted it to frame. I love doing a grand staircase, and that usually takes up so much space. So I was going through so many options of what I wanted to make the staircase look like, and this was the best one. So I actually want to try and do a video at some point in the future doing all of my ideas for grand staircases, because I think I've done so many at this point. My favorite one is still the one from the Occult Academy that I did. Like, I think I ate with that one. I'm not even gonna lie. I love that staircase, but I couldn't fit it in here. It just would have taken up too much space. So I went with the really long staircases on the side, and it's that long because we are building in the tallest hall height for this build, I wanted it to be really daunting and intimidating on the outside of the build, and I felt like the best way to do that was, or the best way to achieve that was with, you know, these tall lights. And so now currently we are working on the bar. Now this bar, I've also built this bar, and this is actually where the idea came from. It came from the Cult Academy that I built. I built a bar in that school thing, and I loved how that bar turned out, and I was like, I need to build an entire restaurant or a bar with this look, basically. So it's currently what I'm doing. Now, the first mistake that I made, I haven't worked out my method of doing this yet, because it is really a difficult way to get this look for a bar. Now, the first thing that I made the mistake of was drawing a wall and then placing the arches on that wall. So first you're going to do a basement, right? And then you're going to place these arches. Do not place it on a wall, just place the arches in the basement. Now that may be a bit difficult because they may slot to the walls that you have around it of the room, but then just delete those walls, place those arches in the basement, and then use the tool mod to raise them up. That is what I'm doing. Now, when you do this, unfortunately, there'll be a little bit of a space between the roof and where the arch is. So what I did was, there's this object in cottage living. It's a roof piece, and it looks like a small plank, right? So what I did was I sized that up, I think twice, and then I raised that up first so that it can act as like a baseboard between the arches and the roof, and then I raised up the arches to meet with the baseboard at the top. And yeah, then I just placed the bar under. Now this bar is not the bar that I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with one from For Rent, and the bar right now is too aligned with the arch. So when I was playtesting the lot, what was happening is the drinks were being placed like right there where the columns are hitting the bar, and so your sim or you wouldn't see the drink, so you couldn't grab the drink. And yeah, so you basically, what you have to do is just move out the bar just a bit more, but then it looks like the columns are floating in the air. So then I had to correct that, because I can't have the columns floating in the air from the back of the bar. That's what it looks like from the back of the bar. So I then found this pedestal from Jungle Adventure, but this was when I was finished filming, like I was playtesting the lot when I was doing this, because I was running into a lot of issues with the bar working. It works perfectly fine now, but yeah, so I had to basically place something under those two middle columns that you see that is like made from the arches right now. I had to place something under them so that it looks like they're not like floating in the air. And so I found this pedestal from Jungle Adventure, and I've just placed it I raised it up from the basement and placed it under those arches, and then moved the bar more towards the door side. So out, like currently I'm moving it in, but I should actually be moving it in the opposite direction so that it works. So yes, that was like, there you can kind of see I pulled out that vampire's pedestal, because at that point already I was like, okay, it looks like the column is floating a bit, but basically I used a similar thing from Jungle Adventure from the back of the bar. When you go into the build, you can see what I did there at the back of the bar. But yes, I don't know if I'll ever do this method again. I love how it looks, like it turned out really pretty, but it is such a long way of getting this kind of look. And the reason why I do a basement at the end is so that the Sims does not how do I explain this? So that it does not register that the arches are in the same area as the bar, and so your Sims can kind of interact through the arches still. So it's like the arch is still in the basement, but you can see it there, kind of, is the idea. The only downside of this is that if you want to play with walls down, those arches will never disappear. They will always be up. For me, I don't mind it because I prefer how it looks. I was looking up at a lot of like inspiration and so on for gothic vampire-esque bars, and a lot of the times they would have these like arches and then lights hanging in between the arches by the bar, and I just wanted to kind of find a way to make that as well, and then also to avoid just any other conflicts as well. if you want to try this method, raise these plants up from the basement as well so that they're not getting in the way of your sim in any way, shape, or form, or in any way of the bar, you know, like operating as it should. But yeah, that is the bar. I wish it, you know, went as quick as it's showing here, but it didn't. There were so many things that I still had to do afterwards that I, you know, had to fix so that the bar was actually functional. But it is working. It should be working. It should have no problems with the bar. I think now I know what my method would be if I ever do this bar again in the future. So the next time I show you, it will be cleaner. I thought it would be clean this time because I thought I remembered what I did when I did it in the other build, but I did not remember. I actually had to go and look it up how I got it the way that I got it. And even then, it was like tricky to get it to work, but it's working. Again, it's working in case you didn't get it the first time I said that, but yeah. So now I'm just doing the back of the bar. So I use this back bar from Life and Death, and then I use the counters from Life and Death as well. And yeah, Life and Death, I used a lot of that in this build. And oh yes, the lights that you see me hanging everywhere, that's actually from the storybook nursery kit. I freaking love that light, and I think I just got that kit really for the light and also just to test it out. I don't build for infants a lot, so if I'm being honest, I did just get it for that light, which is not necessarily the best reason to get a kit, but I don't think we have anything else like this light in the game. So yes, now we are busy with the bathroom. Now I do wish that I placed in another bathroom at the end or on the first floor, because it's the only bathroom on the first floor. The bathrooms were a really hot commodity in this restaurant. Like there were Sims in and out of the bathrooms all the time. And then oh yes, I found this curtain rod from For Rent, and it had this nice pattern on it, so I decided to place that pattern on the plank thing from Cottage Living that I sized up so that it created that nice pattern at the top as well. And I did that. And then this bathroom was really small, which is why I only show snippets of it, didn't show much of it. But I went with vampires, sink, toilet, and then for the mirror I went with one from Crystal Creations that was really fast for the mirror. And then here we're going to start with the main tables now, kind of, and I wanted this section to be erased, so I am just drawing, or I just drew a room and then raised it up with a platform, and then I put down the spandrels from Life and Death. I also used the Life and Death columns. Right now I think I have the one from Castle Estates, but if you look at the top of the spandrels, you can kind of see the columns stick out a bit, and I just didn't like how that looked, so I replaced it with the columns from Life and Death. And then I wanted to place a fireplace here as well, because, you know, fireplaces just like really fit with the whole gothic, Victorian, dark Victorian aesthetic, whatever you want to call it, vampire aesthetic. Yeah, so I went with that, and I always do place like a lot of candles and stuff around a fireplace when I'm usually building for this kind of design. So I just went with these candles from Lovestruck, raised some of them up onto the fireplace itself, and then those other candles at the back with the, or it's like candelabra I should say, that is from Vampires. And then these single candles are from Lovestruck, and then the ones like the three little candles together is from Life and Death, if I'm not mistaken. And this fireplace is from Life and Death as well. Life and Death really came in clutch with this build. And then here you see me raise up those candles, and those are from, which pack is that from? I can't recall at the moment, but yeah, raise those candles up as well. And then for the tables, I went with a table from Vampires, and then the chairs are from the base game, if I'm not mistaken. And then these two trees that you see me placed in the back is from City Living, but I'm going to size up one of the planters from Enchanted by Nature so that I can cover up the white plant thing that's at the bottom of that tree, so that everything is, you know, fitting with this black maroon vibe that I'm going with in this restaurant. Yes, I really wanted this maroon color, but there is not a lot of things that come in the Sims with this maroon color, and so I was just trying my best to get that from this Vampires. Vampires had the perfect maroon swatch in this table, but the chairs did not really match the swatch of the maroon in the table, so that was a bit frustrating. And when it comes to me, I'm very particular about colors that I want, so that was annoying me a bit, but I think I got it to a good place in the end. And then here you see me just decorating the table. So I used, once again, the candles that I've been using over and over, and then those plates I think are from Home Chef Hustle. And then in the middle here you're gonna see me do this whole bouquet thing, but I'm actually gonna remove this bouquet because I ended up finding a different one from Growing Together that fit a lot better with the color scheme that I was going for. And also I found it after my game crashed, because if you ever build a restaurant, do not use the single booths or the straight booths from Dine Out. They are buggy and they make your game crash. If you ever place them down, make sure you save all the time, because I lost all of what you see me doing now because I forgot to save, which is also on me because I should know better. But yeah, I had lost everything, because when you build with those booths, as soon as you place a second one for some reason on the table, what it will do is it will not, and you try and remove the booth afterwards, it will not register, and then your game will crash afterwards. Because I did also try to save after that happened. One day I built something so big. I remember, I think it was like an arcade, and I was placing booths, but I was placing CC booths. Now, usually CC booths will be based on like the originals from the game, and it was making my game crash. So I thought that the custom content booths were responsible for making the game crash, and then later it corrupted that build entirely. No, it is just the Dine Out booths. There's something wrong with it, so be careful when you build with them and just save. I didn't use that one. I used the corner booths upstairs, and I only used 2 because I was so afraid of just using more of them. I would hate for this build to be corrupted because of those stupid booths. And the funny thing is, the best way for a restaurant to function with Dine Out is to use the objects that come with Dine Out. But one, not only are they like buggy, they are ugly. They are so ugly. I did not want to use them at all. The tables don't come with the solid black swatch. They come with this like horrible wood swatch, which I don't know in which restaurant you would be using that. They are ugly, and yeah, I rest my case on that situation. But luckily these tables do function with Dine Out. I just think maybe that Dine Out recognizes the tables that came with the pack a bit better, and so the restaurant will ultimately function a bit better with those tables and stuff. But yeah, I just didn't want to use them at all in this restaurant, because once again they are ugly. But before I move on from the whole booth ordeal, it also happens with the one from Cozy Bistro, so be careful of that one as well. Like I said, save before you place them, and then save after you place them, so that, you know, if anything happens during that time, you will be fine. So yes, we've moved on to this smaller section now, or we will be moving on to the smaller section now. I'm going to change the section. We'll come back to it a bit later. And I'll show you like how I changed it so that it also is going to sit on a platform. So I'm going to raise the one platform that we were working on now. I'm going to raise that up a little bit higher. And then I'm going to raise this one up by like 1 tick, so that you kind of have to step down into the section so that it's a bit more private and stuff. So what you see now is probably not what's going to be there, but I still wanted to show me setting up the section anyways, so that you kind of got a feel for what I was going for. I do wish like I placed more two-seater tables, but I think I mentioned it in the beginning, or I may have not mentioned it, but there seems to be also like an issue with Dine Out and recognizing smaller tables. Sometimes you'll have food show up for only one of the participants at a 2-seat table, or the food will show up, they will then stand up to eat. And so I was like Googling, why does this happen? And they were like, oh, it's if you place things on the table. So I didn't place things on the table. What I would do is I would move the table out of the way, place them there, place like the bouquets and the candles and the stuff, free place them without the table being there, and then move the table back into place. That's what I was doing. So I tried it out that way. And like I said, the food does show up. It's just that I don't know how Dine Out decides when your sim sits down and they are able to eat it just fine, and when the sim needs to stand up and eat it. I don't know. But I didn't find any, like, I just felt like because the food was showing up, it's okay. It's not a big deal. They got their food, they were able to eat it. And so, but I would definitely say I prefer the bigger tables over the smaller ones for the restaurants and stuff. And like I said, if you don't want to run this as a restaurant, you can always run this as a nightclub. Or I don't know if I said that, because I did record the intro twice, so I don't know what I said in the intro and what I didn't. But you can run this as like a nightclub. You can run it as a lounge and then replace like a lot of the chairs with like lounges, or you can run it as a cafe instead, and then replace like the bar with a cafe, or like a bistro kind of vibe. But yeah, then you'll just have to ignore the massive kitchen that I built, because we're going to be moving on to that at some point, and it's kind of big, so you'll just have to ignore that that's there, and that can just be there for show. So there you can kind of see what I'm doing now is I'm creating that little secluded area with the platforms over there. And then I wanted to make a section that goes out to the back to this massive bin that I placed in the back. So I am currently building this off the kitchen at the back. Now, something also that I did not like when I was playing this as a, you know, not as a restaurant that I own, but as a restaurant that I was visiting, was that customers were in the kitchen and they were walking through the kitchen, and I'm going to place down tables and chairs in the kitchen as well, kind of like a rest area for employees. It's kind of just for show, because, you know, the dino employees don't really do that unless you own the restaurant, then it makes sense. So I'm going to place that down at some point, and the customers kind of recognize that as a table, and so some of them were eating here in the kitchen. So that's the only thing that you need to, I guess, be aware of. I don't know if there's a way to lock the doors without you owning the restaurant. I tried to do it, it didn't work. But when I did play as an owner, I was able to lock the doors and no customers came in here. So that's nice. I think it would be better for this restaurant if you own it and run it yourself, as opposed to if you come and visit as a customer. In my opinion, I just thought it functioned better that way. And then yeah, I'm currently like doing like a pantry area in the kitchen. I did kind of struggle with the layout a little bit of the kitchen, because you can see it's like really narrow. It's kind of narrow and very vertical, if that makes any sense. I think I'm using that wrong, but so I wanted to have this like big island in the middle where I would have all of the planning or the prepping items on it, and I just felt like maybe the space was a little bit narrow. I think that's maybe the word that I wanted to use. I did get it to a good enough place afterwards, so I just left it like that. I think it looks really good, so I think it works out in the end anyway. So for the kitchen, I was just using a lot of the kitchen clutter, the plates that we got with Snow Escape, the plates that we got with Home Chef Hustle, dine out objects as well. You can see that I'm doing that island now. I did end up shifting it over towards the shelf section instead of where it is right now, because I feel like it's a bit too close to the chef station. And yeah, so I did end up shifting it a bit that way. And then I just placed a lot of prep ingredients on this kitchen island. A lot of them, like I said, is from Kitchen Clutter and Home Chef Hustle as well. I think Home Chef Hustle is a really good pack for a restaurant. And then there you can see I have never had a reason to really place out these prep ingredients, and I just feel like it fits kind of with the restaurant to have that placed out there. Obviously that they don't really like interact with the island really, because the chef is just at the chef station. But I also found it quite handy to place in all of these sinks, and then I placed in dishwashers as well. So the restaurant was like really clean, because one thing I will say is the waiters are really good at making sure that the restaurant is clean, that there was no dirty dishes laying around and stuff like that. I was like happy with how the restaurant was functioning. It's just that, one, I think I made the restaurant a bit too big, and two, the whole issue with the small tables and the unpredictability of whether food was going to show up or not. But for me, every time, or for my Sims that I was playing with, the food showed up every single time. Just like not all the time when I was sitting at the small table. I don't know what it is with the small tables, but yes. And then here I used that kind of kitchen caddy thingy as well that we got with kitchen clutter. And I think the idea was that waitress, maybe like one of the waitresses, I put one of those cleaning caddy that you can kind of see there in the corner. It's a blue thing. I put that on there as well with the serving trays that I found in debug. And the idea is that I guess there's a waitress that will push that around at the end of the day, collect things, clean up the tables, and so on. And then I use the cups as well from everyday clutter, and yeah, just like bits and bobs, like all the kitchen stuff that I could find, I placed on those shelves. I like to do open shelving in like these restaurant commercial buildings. So I use the counters from Life and Death, and then I use the sink from Kitchen Clutter, and then all of those things that I mentioned before for the open shelving. And then I wanted to place this hanging like pot rack thing, but the thing is, because I have one of those glass roofs here, which is also another thing, you know, like working with these glass roofs that you have to take into account, is that when you hang lights or anything like that, it can look like it's hanging from nothing, which I do not like. So what I did later on is I came back and I used these, it's called rain chains, I think, and it's from Snowy Escape. So I attached the rain chains to the pot rack so that it looked like it was actually hanging from the ceiling and not like dangling from nowhere. And then yes, here is the little seating area that I'm going to create. So I wanted to create a small work, almost like a place where employees can get coffee or tea or so on, or where they'll warm up their lunch while they are on their break, is what I was going for. So this is the section that you see me create now. Now obviously, if this door is not locked, Sims come in here and they will get tea, and they will get stuff from the microwave, and they will get stuff from the fridge. So that is just another trade-off that you have to make if you are playing as a customer. But if you own the restaurant, then you can lock the door, like I said, and Sims won't be able to come in here. And so then here, I just wanted to fence off that bin area. There was this one Sim that was always on this lot and always in that bin. I don't know, is that like a NPC from Eco Lifestyle? But he was always here and he was always in the bin. And there was also a kid always running around. The kid like literally fell asleep in this restaurant. I don't know, no parent in sight. He was speaking to everyone, having conversation with everyone. I don't know. At one point I had to cheat to make him leave the restaurant, because what are you doing here? You know, you need to go home. So yeah, this is all for the kitchen. I finished off with those aprons on the wall. And oh yes, no, I didn't finish off with those aprons on the wall. There's things that I'm gonna place on this wall by the chef station. I wanted to place down some more pots, like hanging pots, and then I also placed down the knives on the wall as well, which you can see me do there right now. And that whole shelf with all of those things on, those are from Dine Out. And then obviously the chef station, which you have to place for Dine Out to work, is from that pack as well. And then here I ended up having to put down another staircase downstairs, because it didn't make sense, like practically. Obviously it doesn't matter to the Sims, but practically, like if this was a restaurant, it wouldn't make sense that the only way to get up was those stairs at the front of the restaurant. So I made a staircase close to the kitchen, so that when they came upstairs, now obviously some of the waiters did not use that staircase. Sometimes they would use the one in the front anyways, but I guess just for my own peace of mind, or my own like realism, whatever kind of realism I was going for with this build, I put that staircase there so that it's closer to the kitchen, and that's kind of the staircase that they use to then bring food up to the second floor. And that did kind of get cut out in the editing process, but I promise you all of the screenshots will include every aspect of this build, and it's so worth it to wait until the end to watch them, because this build is so aesthetically pleasing, if I do say so myself. If you enjoy, if you love this dark aesthetics, not everybody likes this kind of gothic dark Victorian vibe, but I love it. So, and I think I did well. You can let me know though what you think. And then now I'm just doing another bathroom upstairs. Like I said, I wish I placed more bathrooms downstairs, but it just didn't work out that way for the space. And I also didn't think that Sims would need the bathroom that much, but there was Sims in and out of the bathroom the entire time. And then also what I did was I took out this bin. I replaced it with that automatic bin that we got, because I just didn't want any kind of filth anywhere, and that bin is automatic, and it also gives you money when you throw away things. And then here I had this open wall, and so I decided to do the same thing again with the fireplace that I did downstairs, just to bring, you know, this eerie kind of dark elements, I guess, to the upstairs part of, or upstairs portion of this build as well. And then I found this lantern, and I think it's either from Oasis Courtyard or a different pack, but it was also just like the perfect red, just bringing out the other reds that I added in this build as well. And oh yes, the wallpaper for the entire lot really is from Life and Death. And then I think I used one other wallpaper downstairs, and obviously in the kitchen, the one in the kitchen is from Spa Day or from Dine Out. And then the one that on the door that leads into the kitchen is from Vampires. Yes. And then I forgot to explain this while I was doing it, but you would have seen downstairs that I made this entire wall with like leaves. So what I did there was I used this wainscoting from Decor to the Max. I placed that down, which was not really necessary because the mirrors that I ended up placing from Vintage Glamour kind of has the same wainscoting pattern at the top of the mirrors. But I placed down the other ones from Decor to the Max anyways, because it's a bit more, the wainscoting at the top, if you just look at the top of that like paneling that I placed down, it's a bit more pronounced than the ones that are on the mirror from Vintage Glamour. And then I just used this plant wall decoration from Vampires, and I placed it over the mirror. I didn't know what else to do on that wall, so that's what I went with. And then yeah, upstairs I wanted to have seating areas, right, 4 tables, but I wanted to have a grand piano. And this is also the perfect spot where you can kind of remove the piano and place in a dance floor. And then, you know, there by the windows at the back or by the glass wall paint at the back, you can place down a DJ booth and make this a nightclub if you wanted to, a nightclub bar kind of situation, because you may not want to necessarily have this as a restaurant, and I think it would work out perfectly. So this was just something that I added to add ambiance to the restaurant, I guess, but I think actually it's the perfect spot for a dance floor, and then I'll explain where I think you should put the DJ booth. And so I just placed down this mat from Vintage Glamour, I think it is, and then a bass game piano, and then place down all of these candles again. And then those flowers are from Seasons, and then the other one, the green or the darker maroon colored one, is from Growing Together, the one that I was speaking about. And then I ended up removing those chairs that you saw me place there, because I kind of just wanted it to be open and there was already a lot of seating around. And then just to create some separation between the areas, I placed down a half wall at some points. And then oh yes, this light, this beautiful chandelier, is actually from Life and Death. No, it's from Businesses and Hobbies, that I placed down in the middle, and you would have seen me place that downstairs as well. And then I just went back in and I used this vase from the base game, sized it up, and then I used the roses from the base game as well, size that up and place that in the vase. And you're going to see me do that like all around this part to kind of frame it a bit, and also just fill up all of the empty spaces around the piano. I see that we have a new update for the game, and I haven't heard good things about it though. I don't know whether I'm gonna have to update my game because I plan to post this video on Friday, and so for me to be able to do that, I need to be able to upload the lot to the gallery, and the only way to do that is to update the game so that I can use my internet connection to upload it to the gallery. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm gonna put it off for as long as I possibly can so that I can continue to play, because I've heard that this update has broken so many mods, and a lot of the mods that I build with and play with is broken at the moment. And so yeah, I'm not looking forward to the process of updating all of my mods. So there you can kind of see I still did the doubling up of the tables, and you can see how the bottom of the table looks just so nice. But yeah, I had to remove the table, and I'm so sad about it. And then there in that corner where you saw the other two-seater table is where I'm gonna remove that, and I'm gonna place booths in, but you're gonna see me do it on the other side because I only came up with the idea when I was gonna do the other side, and the whole idea was that both sides would kind of look the same or they would mirror each other. But I then decided on the other side that I was going to change my mind. And then here, where I'm currently busy placing this other table, is where I think you can place a DJ booth. And it would fit perfectly in, and I don't think it would look like out of place to place the DJ booth over there. I'm going to place some gargoyles around there as well. So let me know if you guys want me to upload a version where this is just a nightclub. Obviously, I'm still gonna leave the kitchen there, and I'm not really gonna take it out because I have no idea what I would do with that room. If it's not a kitchen, maybe like make lots of bathrooms or something like that. But let me know if you want me to turn the stop section into the nightclub version. And there you can see I added the booths. Now I haven't had the same crashing problems with this corner booth, and actually it works quite well with the host. Like when the host brings guests to tables, she always brings them to the booths up here, so I don't have an issue with that one. It's the other one, like the straight ones, that are the issue. And then there you can see I just placed those gargoyles in the corner. I kind of wanted to call back to the outside with the gargoyles, and then I just placed once again all of those decorations that I've been placing around other objects in that corner. And then here I had like this open corner and I had no idea what to do, so I'm just gonna place down another statue. I don't think it would be like a vampire. You can kind of see there I was gonna try and place a DJ booth, but I decided not to. And I just went with this statue from Vampires. I don't think it would be a Vampires build without the statue, which you're going to see me place in a moment. But that is all for this lot. Oh, this is where I'm going to end the voiceover. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed doing this build for you. There were some difficult points of this build, but I guess I do the difficult things and you get to enjoy the build and use it whichever way you would like to. You can find this build under SimWithMishka or hashtag SimWithMishka on the gallery. If you have any other ideas, please consider popping those in the comments, and please do consider giving this video a like and subscribing if you did enjoy the video. And I would like to thank you so much for being here, and I will chat to you in the next one. Bye bye.